The stars were always there, shining far away, silent and cold. For most of human history, they were just lights in the sky, nothing more than dreams. But by the early 22nd century, humans had learned how to reach them. It started with small steps. First came the moon bases, then Mars colonies, then stations orbiting Jupiter. By 2147, Earth was no longer the only home. Humans lived on rocky moons, icy planets, and ships that never landed. They built farms in space, mined asteroids for metal, and learned to live without sunlight. But it wasn't enough. Earth's governments were still broken. Fights over land, water, and power didn't stop just because people could now live on other worlds. So some left. Not just scientists or soldiers, but farmers, engineers, teachers, and families who wanted peace. They called themselves the New Pioneers. Their goal was simple: build new lives, far from Earth's problems. They moved beyond the solar system, into the deep dark between stars. No one noticed at first. The big alien powers, the Virex Concord, the Telari Union, and others, didn't care about humans. To them, humans were still primitive, loud, and messy. They thought humans would die out like so many species before them. They were wrong. Hidden in the dark, humanity grew. Lena Harper stood on the observation deck of her ship, the Aurora. She wore a thick coat against the cold air inside the old freighter. Outside, the view showed nothing but stars and blackness. She wasn't supposed to be here. Officially, she was still an engineer for the United Earth Science Corps. Unofficially, she hadn't reported back in over a year. "I think we've found it," said a voice behind her. Lena turned. It was Kyle Morgan, her pilot and friend. He held a tablet showing a scan of a planet below, a frozen world orbiting a rogue gas giant. There was no sun nearby, only the faint glow of distant stars. "It's not on any maps," Kyle added. "No signals, no life signs, just rocks and ice." Lena smiled. "Perfect." She looked down at the world again. This was the third place they'd checked this month. Most were dead ends. Some were too hot, too dangerous, or already claimed by aliens. But this one felt different. "We land tomorrow," she said. Kyle nodded and walked off. Lena stayed a little longer, staring at the planet. It reminded her of Earth's Arctic. Cold, empty, quiet. That was what they needed. A place to hide and grow. Back on Earth, people argued about the future. Politicians talked about war with aliens. Scientists debated whether humans should stay or leave. But Lena didn't care about politics. She cared about survival. She remembered her father's words when she was young. "If you want to build something real, build it where no one else is watching." That's exactly what she was doing. 2 weeks later, the base was up and running. It was buried under layers of ice hidden from satellites and sensors. Solar collectors were placed far apart, powered by heat from deep underground vents. The main structure was made of modular units brought from Earth and assembled by robots. There were only 12 people in the base at first: engineers, doctors, mechanics, and 2 kids who had been born in space. Life was hard. Food was limited. The cold pressed in from all sides. But they were free. Every morning, Lena walked through the halls and saw people working together. No flags, no borders, no wars. Just humans trying to survive and build something better. One day, while checking the outer perimeter, Lena found something strange. Her scanner picked up a signal. Weak, buried under ice, but definitely artificial. Not human. She called Kyle and a few others. Together, they dug through the ice layer by layer. After hours of work, they reached a smooth, metallic surface. It wasn't just a rock, it was a structure. Old, damaged, maybe even ancient. Lena ran her hand across the surface. Symbols were carved into the metal, lines and shapes she didn't recognize. "This isn't ours," Kyle whispered. "No," Lena agreed. "It's not." They sent a drone to map the area. The scans showed more structures beneath the ice. Big ones, possibly a whole city. Lena stared at the data. Her heart pounded. They weren't alone, not in the galaxy, And maybe not on this planet either. Meanwhile, Daniel Reyes sat in a dimly lit room on Luna Station. He used to be a military strategist. Now he worked as a diplomat, trying to keep Earth's leaders from making stupid decisions. He sipped his coffee and read the latest report from the frontier. Another unregistered colony? He muttered. He leaned back in his chair. The numbers were growing. Every week, more humans vanished. From Earth's records, some went to join private companies, others joined pirate groups, but most disappeared into the void. No messages, no signals, just gone. Daniel knew where they were going. Into the dark, away from Earth's control. He had once tried to stop it. He told the Council that if humans kept expanding without permission, the aliens would notice, and if the aliens noticed, they might react badly. But the Council didn't listen. They were too busy fighting each other. So Daniel did the next best thing. He helped. Quietly, he arranged for supplies to reach certain colonies. He gave fake clearance codes to pilots. He even leaked old star maps to groups heading into uncharted space. He believed in what Lena and others were doing. He believed humanity needed a second chance, one that couldn't happen on Earth. But he also knew the risks. The aliens were not blind. Sooner or later, someone would find out. And when they did, everything would change. Weeks passed. Back on the frozen world, Lena's team continued to dig. They uncovered more ruins, walls covered in symbols, machines that didn't work, and strange tools made of materials they couldn't identify. Then came the discovery that changed everything. Deep beneath the ice, they found a chamber sealed tight. Inside was a device unlike anything they'd ever seen. It pulsed with light, even though there was no power source nearby. Lena recorded everything. She sent encrypted messages to Daniel asking for help. He responded with warnings. "Don't touch it," he wrote. "Don't turn it on. We don't know what it is." But Lena couldn't stop. She studied the device every day. Slowly, she began to understand its design. It wasn't just a machine, it was a beacon, and it was still active. One night, while everyone slept, Lena connected it to a portable power cell. The moment she did, the chamber filled with light. Outside, the sky cracked open. A pulse of energy shot into space, invisible to the naked eye but powerful enough to reach across the stars. Something had been sent. Something had been awakened. And somewhere far away, someone, or something, had heard it. On Luna Station, Daniel woke up to alarms. His console flashed red. Emergency reports flooded in from observatories across the frontier. A signal was sent. One message read, "Origin unknown. Strength extreme." Daniel stared at the screen. He knew. Lena had done it. She had triggered something. Now the galaxy would look toward Earth, and what they found wouldn't be what they expected. Humanity wasn't hiding anymore. They were rising, and they had just announced themselves to the universe. The signal traveled fast, faster than light, faster than thought. It moved through space like a ripple in water, reaching places no human had ever seen, and somewhere far away, someone, or something, heard it. Back on the frozen world, Lena stood in the chamber as the glowing device pulsed softly. She had disconnected the power cell, but the machine still hummed. It was not broken. It was awake. "What did you do?" Kyle asked, stepping into the room. His voice was low, almost afraid. "I don't know," Lena said. I think it sensed something." Kyle looked at the device. He didn't touch it. No one did. They all felt it. This thing was not made by humans. It was old, powerful, dangerous. Outside, the sky was clear. But high above them, satellites picked up strange readings, radiation spikes, gravity shifts. Something had changed. Lena turned to Kyle. "We need to send a message to Daniel, now." He nodded and ran out. They didn't know it yet, but they had just set off a chain of events that would change the galaxy forever. Daniel Reyes sat alone in his small office on Luna Station. The lights were dim, and his coffee had gone cold. He stared at the screen in front of him. A red warning blinked. Unknown signal detected. Origin, Frontier Zone 7. Frontier Zone 7 was where Lena was, where her team had gone silent days ago. He tapped a few keys. The system pulled up more data. The signal was strong. Too strong. It wasn't normal. It wasn't human. Daniel leaned back in his chair and rubbed his eyes. This was bad. He opened a secure channel and typed a short message. Lena, what did you turn on? He hit send and waited. Minutes passed. Then an answer came. It wasn't us. We only found it. It's ancient. Alien. It sent something. Daniel read the words again. Then he closed his eyes. He knew what this meant. The silence was over. Humanity had been hiding for years, moving quietly from star to star, building bases, staying out of sight. But now, they had shouted into the dark, and someone had heard. 2 weeks later, the first alien ships arrived. They came without warning. Big, gray, shaped like blades. They dropped out of hyperspace near the edge of human-controlled space and hovered like hunters waiting for prey. On board, the Virex warlord by Commander Korak studied the scans. This is not Virex territory, he said, but the signal came from here. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Vess, looked at the data. There are human ships nearby, small, unarmed. Korak narrowed his eyes. They have no right to be here. The Virex were a warrior species. Tall, scaled, with sharp teeth and sharper tempers. They ruled large parts of the galaxy through strength and fear. To them, humans were weak. A joke. Annoying insects who should stay in their corner of space. But now these insects were digging around in ruins that did not belong to them. That could not be allowed. Korak gave the order. Send a warning shot across their bow. Let them know. We are watching. Vess hesitated. Are you sure? We don't know if they caused the signal. Korak growled. They are here. That is enough. Vess obeyed. The warship fired a single beam into space, close to a human research vessel called the EOS 3 Auslau. The blast missed, but the shockwave rattled the ship. Inside the EOS 3O, alarms screamed. People scrambled. The captain, a woman named Farsirim Maya Torres, grabbed the comms. This is Captain Torres of Earth research ship EOS 3Ys. You have fired upon us without provocation. Please identify yourself. Static filled the channel. Then came a voice deep and rough. You are trespassing in restricted space. Leave now, or face consequences. Maya looked at her crew. They were scientists, not soldiers. There was nothing they could do. She turned the ship around and left, but not before sending a message back to Luna Station. Daniel got the report within the hour. He read it twice. Then he stood up, walked to the window, and looked out at the stars. 30. Virex had noticed, and they were not happy. Back on Earth, panic started to grow. News reports showed blurry images of the alien ships. Scientists argued about the signal. Politicians held emergency meetings. At the United Earth Council, Senator Marcus Bell stood up and slammed his fist on the table. We cannot let this stand, he shouted. The Virex are threatening our people. We must respond. Others were not so sure. Councilwoman Elena Ruiz, a calm voice in a rising storm, said, We don't know what caused the signal. We don't know what it means. Rushing into conflict will only make things worse. Bell scoffed. Waiting while aliens shoot. At our ships, that's not peace, that's surrender. Across the planet, people listened. Some agreed with Bell. Others feared war. In hidden bases, colonies, and ships, humans watched and waited. They knew what was coming. Meanwhile, in another part of the galaxy, a different group was also listening. The Talari Union was not like the Virex. They were peaceful, telepathic beings who lived in massive floating cities. They did not fight unless forced. They did not speak unless needed. But now they spoke. The beacon has awakened, said the High Seer, their leader. It calls to the old ones. Around her, other Talari stood in silence. One asked, Should we warn the humans? Another replied, They do not listen. They act before they understand. The High Seer closed her eyes. Still, we must try. She reached out, not with words, but with thoughts. Across the stars she sent a message, not to governments, not to leaders, to those who might hear, to those who might care. Back on the frozen moon, Lena felt it. She was in the lab when the feeling came, like a whisper in her mind. Not loud, not scary, just there. She stopped working. Her hands shook. She looked at Kyle. You feel that? She asked. He frowned. Feel what? Lena didn't answer. She walked outside and looked up at the sky. Somewhere far away, someone was trying to talk to her. She didn't know why. But she knew one thing. The galaxy was waking up, and humanity was, no longer just a whisper in the dark. Daniel met with a small group of trusted allies in a secret location under Luna Station. They sat around a round table. Maps of space, alien tech, and old records covered the walls. We've lost control of the situation, Daniel said. The Virex are moving closer. The humans on the frontier are scared. Earth is divided. One man. Jonas Hale, a former intelligence officer, asked, What do we do? Daniel sighed. We stop hiding. Everyone looked at him. We can't keep pretending we're not here. We can't keep running. If we want to survive, we have to stand up. Together. Another member, Dr. Nina Patel, shook her head. Even if we wanted to unite, how do we fight the Virex? We don't have the weapons, we don't have the ships. Daniel smiled faintly. Maybe not yet, but we have something else. What's that? Jonas asked. Daniel looked at the map of space. Time. He pointed to the frontier. They don't know everything. They don't know how many of us are out there. They don't know what we've built. He paused. They think we're still, just a few scattered colonies, but we're not. We're growing. Fast. He looked at each of them. We have time. And we have secrets. And what happens? Dr. Patel asked. When they find out? Daniel looked down. That's when the real war begins. As the days passed, more alien ships arrived. Some came to watch. Some came to warn. One came to attack. A human freighter, the Miradon, was caught crossing the border between neutral space and Virex-controlled systems. Without warning, it exploded. No survivors. The Virex denied responsibility, but no one believed them. The humans on the frontier were angry, scared, ready to fight. Daniel tried to calm them. So did Lena. But it was too late. Something had changed. The quiet expansion was over. Now the rise of humanity had begun, and the galaxy was ready to answer. The attack on the Miradon changed everything. It wasn't just another ship lost in space. It was a message, a warning. And for many humans living beyond Earth, it was the last straw. On the frontier, anger grew like fire in dry grass. Families mourned their dead. Pilots talked of revenge. Colonies began arming themselves, building walls, and watching the skies. War was coming, and humanity was no longer hiding. Ethan Cole stood on the flight deck of the Vanguard, a modified fighter carrier orbiting a hidden base near the edge of known space. He was young, only 28, but he had already seen more death than most soldiers twice his age. His hands were steady as he adjusted the controls on his fighter. His eyes were sharp. His mind was focused. Behind him, mechanics worked fast, loading weapons and checking engines. Around him, pilots trained, ran drills, and waited for orders. This place used to be a mining station. Now it was a war base. "We're ready," said a voice behind him. Ethan turned. It was Commander Dana Reyes, Daniel's older sister. She wore a worn-out uniform and carried a tablet showing battle plans. "They're calling us heroes," she said, "but we're not ready for what's coming." Ethan looked out at the stars. "We don't have time to be ready. We just have to do it." Dana nodded. "Then let's hit them where they won't expect." Back on Earth, the United Earth Council held an emergency meeting. Senator Marcus Bell stood up and slammed his fist on the table. "This is war," he shouted. "We cannot keep pretending we can talk our way out of this. The Virex attacked." Huss. They killed our people. We must strike back. Councilwoman Elena Ruiz sat across from him. She was calm, but her voice was firm. And if we strike back, she said, how many more will die? How many colonies will burn? Bell pointed at a screen showing footage of the Mira Dawn's explosion. How many more must die before we act? Ruiz didn't answer right away. She looked around the room. Some members agreed with Bell. Others feared what would happen if they went to war too soon. She finally spoke. We need more time, she said. We need to understand what caused the signal. We need to know if this was really the Virex or something else. Bell scoffed. You still think this is about some ancient alien beacon? Wake up, Ruiz. This is about survival. Ruiz met his gaze. Survival without understanding leads to destruction. No one spoke after that. The council ended with no decision. And so, the galaxy moved toward war. Meanwhile, Lena Harper returned to the frozen moon where it all began. The ruins still pulsed beneath the ice. The strange device still glowed. But now she wasn't alone. Scientists, engineers, and even soldiers came with her. They studied the machine, trying to understand its purpose. They scanned the symbols carved into the walls. They searched for answers. One night, while reviewing data, Lena noticed something strange. The signal wasn't random, she said to Kyle. It wasn't just a beacon. It was a key. Kyle frowned. A key to what? Lena looked at the glowing device. To something big. Something old. Something locked away. They weren't just sending a message into space. They were opening a door. And someone, or something, was listening. In secret labs far from Earth, human scientists worked. Non-stop, they built new weapons, faster ships, better armor. They studied captured alien tech and tried to copy it. They trained soldiers who had never seen real combat. At one such lab, Dr. Nina Patel led a team working on a new kind of fighter. It was smaller than normal ships, fast, quiet, designed to slip past enemy sensors. This could change everything, she said to Jonas Hale, who had joined her after leaving Luna Station. Jonas looked at the sleek fighter. If we can build enough of them. Patel nodded. We're not just fighting for survival anymore, we're fighting for control. Jonas looked out the window at the stars. Control of what? He asked. Patel didn't answer, because she didn't know. On the Vanguard, Ethan prepared for the first real mission. Their target, a Virex outpost orbiting a dead planet. It was a small base, mostly used for patrols. No heavy weapons, no major defenses, just a symbol of Virex power. Dana gave the final briefing. This isn't just a raid, she said. It's a message. We want them to know we're here, that we won't run. Ethan stood up. We hit fast, we hit hard, then we vanish before they can respond. The pilots nodded. They boarded their fighters. Engines roared, alarms sounded. Lights flashed, and then they jumped into space. The raid was a success. The Vanguard fleet dropped out of hyperspace just outside the Virex base. Fighters swarmed like bees. Missiles flew. Lasers lit up the dark. The Virex were caught off guard. Alarms screamed inside the base. Soldiers scrambled. Ships launched, but too late. Within minutes, the outpost was destroyed. No prisoners, no survivors. Just fire and silence. As the human fleet vanished back into the void, the message was clear. Humanity was no longer hiding. They were rising. Back on the frozen moon, Lena made another discovery. While studying the ruins, her team found a hidden chamber, deep beneath the main structure. Inside, they uncovered something unexpected, a map, not of space, of minds. The device wasn't just a beacon. It was a link, a way to connect thoughts, to share memories, to merge consciousness. Lena stared at the data. This changes everything, she whispered. Kyle looked at her. What does it mean? Lena shook her head. I don't know, but I think this might be the reason the Virex are afraid of us. Kyle didn't understand. Not yet. But he would. Daniel Reyes watched the news from Luna Station. Reports of the raid spread quickly. Some called it heroic. Others called it reckless. Politicians argued. Scientists debated. Daniel knew what it meant. The war had begun. He opened a secure channel and sent a message. To all human forces, prepare for escalation. Then he sat back and looked out at the stars. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was no longer just a whisper in the dark. They were awake, and they were ready to fight. The war spread like fire. Human ships struck Virex outposts. Virex warships retaliated, destroying human colonies without mercy. Across the stars, battles broke out in places no one had ever heard of. Names like Corvex 9, Rylan Rift, and Epsilon. Reach became known not for beauty or discovery, but for bloodshed. On Earth, people watched it all unfold on their screens. Some cheered, others wept. Leaders argued over what to do. But the war was already here, and more than just humans and Virex were involved now. Daniel Reyes stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, looking down at Earth. It looked peaceful. From up here, blue, green, and quiet. But he knew better. Earth was divided. Senator Marcus Bell pushed for total war. He called for every ship, every soldier, every resource to be used against the Virex. We must strike hard, he said in a broadcast. Before they strike us again. Councilwoman Elena Ruiz tried to stop him. She warned that rushing into full-scale war would destroy more than lives. It would destroy hope. But her voice was drowned out by fear. People wanted revenge. They wanted to fight back. And so, Earth began preparing for war. Not just with weapons, but with politics. Far from Earth, the Talari Union made a decision. For centuries, they had remained neutral. They did not fight unless attacked. They did not take sides unless forced. Now they could no longer stay silent. In their floating city above the planet, Vera Prime, the High Seer gathered the Council of Minds. We have seen this before, she said. Her voice was calm but heavy. A young species rising too fast, a beacon calling something old, and a war that spreads beyond control. One of the younger Talari asked, "What should we do?" The High Seer closed her eyes. We must speak to them. Not their leaders, not their soldiers. We must speak to those who still seek peace. She reached out, not with words, but with thoughts. Across the stars, she sent a message. To those who might listen, to those who might care. Back on the frozen moon, Lena Harper felt it again. She was in the ruins when the whisper came. It wasn't loud. It didn't hurt. It was just there. A presence. Someone, or something, was trying to talk to her. She sat down, closed her eyes, and listened. Images filled her mind. Stars falling, ships burning, planets breaking apart. Then came voices. Not real ones, but thoughts. You have opened the door. You do not know what waits beyond. You must choose your path carefully. Lena gasped and opened her eyes. Kyle ran in. What happened? You scared. Me. Lena shook her head. I think someone just warned me. Kyle frowned. Warned you about what? Lena looked at the glowing device in front of her. I don't know, she whispered. But I think we're not just fighting the Virex anymore. Meanwhile, Ethan Cole flew through space in his fighter. His squad had just completed another. They hit a Virex supply line near Dreelan Belt. Fast, quiet, deadly. As they pulled back, Ethan looked at the data from the mission. They had destroyed 3 cargo ships, captured 1, killed dozens. But the biggest prize was still ahead. Virex command base orbiting a dying star. It was heavily guarded, surrounded by enemy fighters, protected by powerful shields. Most pilots wouldn't try it. Ethan wasn't most pilots. He turned to his wingman, Jace Lang, ear, and said, "We go in tomorrow." Jace raised an eyebrow. "You sure? That place is a fortress." Ethan smiled. "Then, we'll make some noise." Back on Earth, Senator Bell got his way. The United Earth Council voted to send military forces to support the frontier. Ships were armed, soldiers were trained, orders were given. War was official. But not everyone agreed. In hidden labs and secret bases, scientists, engineers, and diplomats worked behind the scenes. They tried to find another way, a way to stop the war before it consumed everything. Among them was Daniel Reyes. He met with a small group under Luna Station. "This is a mistake," he said. "We're rushing into something we don't understand." Jonas. Hale nodded. "Bell won't stop. He's got public support. Even some of the colonies are behind him." Dr. Nina Patel looked at the map on the table. "We need to slow things down. Give the scientists time to study the ruins, find out what we've really awakened." Daniel sighed. "That may not be enough." He looked at each of them. "We need to find someone who can still talk. Someone who can still reason." Jonas frowned. "You mean the Talari?" Daniel nodded. "If anyone knows what's coming, it's them." Days later, Lena received a message. It was from the Talari, not through radio, not through video, through thought. She sat alone in the lab when it came. "You have seen the beacon. You have touched its power. Now you must decide." Lena's heart pounded. "What am I deciding?" she whispered. The answer came slowly. "Will you use it? Or will you destroy it?" She didn't answer, because she didn't know. On the Vanguard, Dana Reyes reviewed battle plans. She was tired, stressed, worried. Ethan walked in. "You look like hell," he said. She smirked. "Thanks. You always know how to cheer me up." Ethan sat down. "We need to talk." Dana looked at him. "About what?" "The war," he said. "About what we're really doing." She frowned. "We're defending our people." Ethan shook his head. "Are we? Or are we just making it worse?" Dana didn't answer right away. Ethan leaned forward. "I saw something during the last raid. A Virex commander. He wasn't trying to kill us, he was trying to surrender." Dana's eyes widened. "You're sure?" Ethan nodded. "He said something. Through the comms. Said we were being played. That the real enemy isn't the Virex." Dana stared at him. "What if he was right?" Ethan asked. She didn't have an answer. Back on Earth, the first major battle began. Human warships arrived at the edge of Virex space. They carried thousands of soldiers, dozens of ships, years of training. They expected a fight. They got more than that. As soon as they entered enemy territory, they were ambushed. Virex warships dropped out of hyperspace from all directions. Missiles rained through space. Fighters swarmed like locusts. The sky burned, and the galaxy watched. As the battle raged, Lena made a choice. She stood in the ruins, staring at the glowing device. Behind her, Kyle waited. "What are you going to do?" he asked. Lena didn't move. "I don't know." Kyle stepped closer. "You said it was a key to something locked away." Lena nodded. "And now that it's open..." She trailed off. Kyle finished the sentence. "Something else is coming." Lena looked at him. "I'm not letting that happen," she said. She reached for the controls and pressed the button. The signal changed. Where once it had been a call, now it became something else. A warning, a shutdown, a final attempt to seal the door before it was too late. Far away, the Talari felt it. So did the Virex, and somewhere deeper in the void, something else. The final battle began near a dying star. It was not a place for life. The air was gone. The light was fading. Only cold and silence remained. But it was here that everything would end, or begin. Lena Harper stood on the observation deck of the Aurora Dawn. She watched as human ships gathered around her, fighters, carriers. Even old cargo ships had been turned into war machines. They were not alone. Virex warships hovered nearby, tall, sharp, filled with soldiers who had fought for years. They came to stop the humans from reaching the ruins at the heart of the system, and somewhere beyond them, floating in silence, were the Talari. They did not attack. They only watched. Daniel Reyes sat in the command center of Luna Station. He looked at the reports coming in from the frontier. Ships were lost. Lives were taken. The war was out of control. He closed his eyes. This was not how it was supposed to go. Humanity had risen fast. Too fast. And now the galaxy was paying the price. Jonas Hale walked in. He looked tired. "They're almost there," Jonas said. "Lena's team, they've landed." Daniel nodded. "Then we wait." Jonas frowned. "Wait for what?" Daniel looked at him. "For her to make the right choice." Back on the planet below, Lena led her team through the ruins. The air was thin. The walls were cracked. Lights flickered like dying stars. She held a small device in her hand. It glowed faintly. "This is it," she said. "The core." Kyle Morgan stepped forward. He looked around. "It feels wrong," he muttered. Lena agreed. The beacon, the key. It had called something ancient, something powerful. And now, it was close. She looked at the others. Dr. Patel, Jonas, even Kyle. They all knew what was at stake. "We don't have much time," she said. "We either shut this down or we lose everything." Dr. Patel stepped toward the core. "If we destroy it, we might never know what it was meant for." Lena met her gaze. "We already know enough." She stepped forward and placed the device against the core. Lights flared, energy pulsed. Something woke up. Above them, the sky split open. A shock wave rolled across space. Ships rocked. Fighters veered off course. Alarms screamed. Ethan Cole saw it from his cockpit. "What the hell was that?" Jace Lang asked over comms. "I don't know," Ethan replied. "But I think Lena just changed everything." He looked at the Virex fleet. For the first time, they didn't look angry. They looked afraid. On the bridge of the Virex Warlord, Commander Korak stared at the readings. His hands clenched the armrests. "What is happening?" He growled. Lieutenant Vest checked the sensors. His face paled. "The signal," he whispered. "It's changing." Korak turned to him. "Explain." Vest looked up. "It's no longer calling us. It's warning us." Korak's eyes narrowed. "Warning us of what?" Vest didn't answer, because he didn't know. But deep inside, he felt it. Something was coming. Something worse than war. Back on Earth, the United Earth Council met again. Senator Marcus Bell stood up. "This is our chance," he shouted. "The Virex are confused. We strike now." Councilwoman Elena Ruiz shook her head. "No, this isn't about winning anymore. Something bigger is happening." Bell scoffed. "You always say that. You always want to talk instead of fight." Ruiz looked at him. "This time," she said, "you're going to wish you had listened." Outside, the skies darkened. Not from clouds. From something else. In the ruins, Lena struggled to keep the device active. The core pulsed violently. Warnings flashed on her screen. "It's unstable," Kyle said. "We need to get out." Lena didn't move. "We can't leave it like this," she said. "We have to finish it." Dr. Patel looked at the data. "If we trigger a full shutdown, it might cause a chain reaction. The whole site could collapse." Lena took a breath. "Do it." Patel hesitated. Then she pressed the button. The chamber lit up. A low hum filled the air. Then, silence. For 1 second. Then the ground shook. The ruins groaned. The walls cracked. "Run!" Lena shouted. They sprinted toward the exit as the ceiling caved in behind them. Dust filled the air. Sparks flew. The beacon dimmed. As they reached the surface, the last pulse faded. The beacon was gone. The door was sealed. Whatever had been coming, it would not reach them now. In space, the shockwave passed. All across the battlefield, ships stopped firing. Pilots looked at their screens. Commanders stared at each other. Even the Virex paused. The signal was gone. The war had no reason to continue. Ethan looked at the enemy fleet. "They're pulling back," Jace said. Ethan didn't speak. He just watched. Then he opened a channel. "This is Lieutenant Ethan Cole," he said. "To all forces, ceasefire. Repeat, ceasefire." There was no reply. At first, then a voice came through. "This is Commander Korak of the Virex Conquered. Ceasefire accepted." Silence followed. Then cheers. Then disbelief. Then peace. Back on Earth, the news spread fast. The war was over. No victory. No surrender. Just stillness. People looked at the stars differently now. They had seen the edge of something far older than themselves. And they had barely escaped. Weeks later, Lena stood on Luna Station. She looked out at Earth. It seemed smaller now, less important. Daniel walked up beside her. "You did it," he said. Lena shook her head. "We did it." Daniel smiled. "What happens now?" Lena thought for a long time. "We start over," she said. "Not hiding, not fighting, just being." Daniel nodded. Behind them, new messages arrived. Peace talks, trade offers, requests for help. The galaxy was watching, and humanity was ready. Not as warriors, not as conquerors, but as something new, something different, something that had survived the worst, and still chosen peace.